It's another Sunday night, Basketbros. We are live and in full effect. I am your moderator, Denzel Snipes, and welcome to another great show full of throwback basketball talk. I am here with my crew. Of course, you're catching us on one of the stream platforms, either on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, or LinkedIn. We got a loaded and packed show for you. Let's go ahead and get the guys in here. Let's see. He is the architect of the Pundit's Pundit, and also check out his show Pundit Views, which is on Mondays on Sideline Sports. Come on in here, Jacob Christner.
What's going on? We're working on a format, a little bit of a different format for at least a week. It's either, and the biggest thing is I've got a possible super fan, but if nothing else, we already know Denzel. We're going to work on it either way. Yeah, we got the idea, and people can see it tomorrow night. It's going to be pretty cool.
Okay, awesome. Yep, it's just starting out tomorrow, so tune in and you're gonna see it live and in full effect. Also, coming on in here, he is in Charlotte, North Carolina, by way of Connecticut. Some parts of the New York metropolitan area. That explains why he's a Yankees fan. And he also gave his props to UConn for winning the national championship. Come on in here, Will Vogel.
What's up, gents? Busy week for me coming up, going to the RBC Heritage Golf Tournament with my dad tomorrow for the whole week. So
cool. You enjoy that?
Yeah, no, I've gone for 2 straight years and I've had a blast each time, except for the ironically the last time.
Do you play yourself? Do you play golf yourself?
No, he does, but I don't. But ironically, sadly, when we both came back, my dad thought he had a what was it? Some sinus infection. Turns out he had COVID, and then I got COVID. So that's the last time we went. But no, it'll be fun. We already rented out an Airbnb, and yeah, it'll be fun.
Nice. And then, last but not least, legend has it, if you walk out in the middle of the desert and stand on a hill and say, "Beam me up, Scotty," 5 times, this man appears.
Boy, your intros get better by the week, that's for sure. And for those of you that are wondering why I'm wearing a Detroit Red Wings hat, easy. I'm heading up 4 hours up 75 to see the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Red Wings. And I'll be in Tampa for a couple days. And as my brother said, that's one of your many hometowns. Yeah, it does. Well, feel bad I won't have you as a pinch hitter this week, but guess what? I'm not going to be there either. So I'll bring you on when I'm the one in charge there with you. But Kane Diabling will do more than.
Hey, here's the thing. If you're going to rub a lamp and you say something 5 times, I'd rather look like Haley Van Lith over Scott here, but still.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But still.
But that's all right. I'll have my pinch hitter Will when I'm back in the saddle for an entire week. I'm not worried about you. But hey, there are times when I have to take my act on the road, and that's what I'm doing. And, I don't know for those of you guys that know it or not, that we have obviously the South Florida Tribune, but my backup account's the Motor City Tribune, and I try to maintain some good contacts back at home in Metro Detroit, which is where I got my start in the first place. So I'm looking forward to going up there to see the Wings and the Lightning and catch up with a couple of friends as well. Tampa to me,
that'll be nice.
Yeah, it's a dear place to me. And of course, I graduated from the University of South Florida Bulls, and that's one of my nicknames, the Bulls. So, well, you probably figured that out a long time ago, right, my buddy? So it's okay.
Well, we actually are going to do something a little different here. We're going to start this program off with a little bit of breaking news. Pistons head coach Dwayne Casey has stepped down as head coach and will take a front office role. Scott, you want to take it away on this one?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Well, number one, Dwayne Casey in his first year led the team to a 41-41 record and got him to the playoffs with Blake Griffin before he fell apart. And after they ended up getting a new general manager in Troy Weaver, he said, 41-41 is all well and good, but we're going to go ahead and start all over. And poor Dwayne, he had coached 3 years of younger players and bad basketball. But the good thing is he's going to be moving up to the front office, and I don't think you can ever have enough good people in the front office. Now, bear in mind that no coach in Detroit has lasted more than 4 years outside of Chuck Daly in recent years. So when I talk about that list, I'm talking about Flip Saunders, Doug Collins, Dwayne Casey, and those are some pretty credible names on that list. I don't have to
Right.
Stan Van Gundy. Of course, he ran himself out of town with some of the things he did anyway, but he's where he needs to be on TV. Okay, we don't need to deal with Stan Van Gundy. But, I think if it were me, and I'm sure that this guy will get a lot of condition, the first phone call I would make if I were the Pistons would be Dami Udoka. He's a guy that can give you defense. He did a lot of good things with the Boston Celtics before that unfortunate situation occurred. He's past that. And we know they'll get a good draft choice, but 17 and 65, the second time that they have ever finished below 20 wins. And unfortunately, the other time was 16 to 66 way back in the day. So, Dwayne Casey's an accomplished coach, but as you get older, there's nothing wrong with going up to the front office and being a good basketball voice. And Dwayne will be fine. I'm glad that he had a 5-year contract that had already gone through 4. So he has another year left. And who knows? I hope they keep him on a lot longer than that so that he can just go ahead and start a new career as an administrator, because he's a great basketball mind. And on this show, we talk about great basketball players and minds. Dwayne Casey will probably never get a head coaching focus. You don't need to. Let's not forget the fact that he won Coach of the Year with the Toronto Raptors before they let him go. Nick Nurse took the Raptors to the World Championship, but again, he won Coach of the Year honors, and then he came on with the Pistons. Unfortunately, that situation didn't turn out like a lot of us hope, but I don't put a lot of that on Casey. They just need a new voice and a coach that can obviously emphasize defense, because I don't care what anybody says to me. Defense, great defensive teams win titles. So.
Yes. No, absolutely. It's really great that they're at least keeping him in the organization. This reminds me of the Bruce Arians Buccaneer situation to a certain extent, but yeah, that he is a great basketball mind, and instead of just letting him go, they're keeping him in the front office, which is great.
Well,
Jacob,
Steven Silas got let go today as well by Houston. And again, I think some of the names being considered are Frank Vogel, Dami Udoka. There are a couple of other candidates that I don't know about, but those are
Nick Nurse is.
Nick
Yeah,
Nurse.
Nick
He's
Nurse.
thinking about leaving
what
Toronto.
happens in Toronto. I think Nick Nurse is going to leave. I really do. I think he's going to want to go somewhere else, and he'd be a great hire. He says he'll step down. He'll step aside a little bit and see what he's going to do. So you're going to see a lot of coaching moves. And, I owe the Pistons a lot. I really do. I covered them during the Bad Boys era. They gave me a piece of the floor, during that time. And the connections I made with them, it's a relationship when I was living back home in Detroit. To me, you have a lot of great relationships, as you guys know, being in the business. And the more you're around it, you being the younger guy on here, will realize the more you're around it, the more relationships you're going to build. And that's what allows you to not only make friends, but they come on as guests every once in a while too. And they don't mind doing it because you built the trust and relationship. So that's a little bit of a pupil teacher kind of thing for you. Well, just so you know.
Absolutely. Jacob, your thoughts on this whole thing?
All right. This is the whole thing I look at. We already did talk the whole thing with Ime Udoka, dealing with that. I'm just looking back. I'm just going to go back to the past on this. Ime Udoka basically has a relationship that was consensual. Gone. We already see this part, Let's go to this year. Steven Silas, gone. Dwayne Casey, he's going to the front office. He was forced out too. Let's just say it that way. It's like he's gone. Let's see, Nate McMillan, which I'm really mad at because I love Nate McMillan. I'm mad at that. See, this is where I get mad at social media and mainstream media. This is where I get mad at them. They make this whole situation like this is the first time in NBA history or coaching history that there's more black coaches than white. That kind of, the stuff that doesn't matter. Right. But guess what? How many of them are allowed to build? Ever. How many are allowed? Dwayne Casey gets the 41 and 41, as you brought up, Scott. He gets 41. What do they do? They let it all go. He has to take garbage. He has to take the young players' garbage, and then he to try to do that, and then gone. He's going to the front office. Then let's see, and then you get we already know the Ime Udoka. Steven Silas. He never had a chance. Never had a chance. Guess what? You know what Nick Nurse is probably going to get, or whoever goes to Houston. You know what? Vogel. They're probably going to get James Harden back. And you know, we with James Harden in the playoffs, but he's a 50-win guy. He's a 50-win guy, regardless of what he does in the playoffs. So yeah, Nick Nurse or them are going, or Vogel or whatever is going to get James Harden back and get some players. These are the things I talk about. Oh, this is the first sits. It's like, you're not letting anybody build. This shouldn't even count. You're not letting anybody build here. Nate McMillan really irritates me because he was the one I thought had a chance with Trae Young, who can't be coached. Right. And it's like, who can't be coached? And it's like, McMillan's a dang good coach, and Quinn's not going to do any better with that squad. Quinn Snyder's not going to do any better with that squad. We can't just keep slobbering a bunch of records under this thing. Let somebody build. Let them be let's let them be coaches instead of examples. Let them be coaches instead of examples. Quit slobbering over the records. Quit doing all that stuff, and then get all that stuff so you have a story. How about let them be coaches? Let them build something.
All right, but Jacob, let me tell you one thing about that situation you have in Atlanta. Okay. You've got Trae Young right over there. So you've already, well, I hear you. I get it too. So you've got Trae Young there, right? And here's the thing. Nate McMillan is gone. Don't you think that the microscope is going to be a much, much heavier on Young now with obviously, give me the,
I think he's gone. I think he's gone, but it's like, personally to me, I'd just rather see Luka come back, which is the whole originality in the first place, if you're going to do something like that.
Yeah.
Because guess what? They both made their own playoffs. They both done their thing. No one won any trade whatsoever. Right. I mean, Luka is not the locker room problem. Trae's a huge one.
Right. Yeah. Quinn Snyder, when you look at everything that he's done, and I think Nate McMillan has done well, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
Okay. So please don't. But with Quinn Snyder there, the margin of error for Trae Young is a lot lower now because now they've given Quinn Snyder, a longer-term contract. So at some point, either Trae Young's going to grow up or, like you said, he's going to be gone.
Well, I think he's gone. I don't think – it's like I remember Oklahoma. It's like they start like 11-0 and they win like 5 games after. I think they made a first round. Luckily, first round in the tournament lost. It's like he's uncoachable. He's flat out uncoachable. He wants to play his own game.
Yep. And as far as the list of names you mentioned that weren't allowed to build, one glaring name that comes to mind, you know who planted the seeds to a dynasty but wasn't allowed to build? Mark Jackson.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what?
I say it to this day to anybody listening. Outside of a couple of others, that's Mark Jackson's team.
These are glaring things. I'm sorry, Scott. I was going to say this. These are glaring things I bring up. I don't want these records and all of these whole things. I want to see. This is just the same with any type of coach, especially with your good or whatever. Let them build. Let them do their job. Quit this whole records thing so you can slobber and have a story. Let them build, because it doesn't matter if Steven Silas, his record looks miserable.
Yeah.
His record looks miserable. He looks bad, and it shouldn't be. And that's the thing. How do you know how good he is? He wasn't given a chance.
Well, let me tell you this. You guys are really spot on here. If Mark Jackson finally doesn't get an opportunity to get a job this time, then to me, that will be the biggest mistake on the planet. Because I know that right now, Steve Kerr is reaping the benefits off of what Mark Jackson did. And Wyatt Malux, obviously, I know you weren't around for the Dick Vitale.
Is that Malou? Is that Malou or Malux?
I don't know. I guess I'm doing a poor job
because
here.
That might be Louisianan, Malou.
Well, sorry, Wyatt. I'll just call you Wyatt because I can't screw that part up anyways. But please don't bring back memories of that 16 and 66. I lived it, and I remember how badly Red Auerbach smoked Dick Vitale. Were those 2 first-rounders with Bob McAdoo. But Wyatt, let me point something out to you. That Dick Vitale and Bob McAdoo used to work together with basketball camps, and there was a relationship. But you talk about a fleece job between the Minnesota one against Utah, and now what Red Auerbach did. To me, Wyatt, you really nailed it. So thanks for bringing that information.
Yeah. And before we move on to our Basketbro Legend, Will, your thoughts on this whole situation?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a number of candidates that you should consider if you're Detroit. You got Silas, Mark Jackson, because I think Silas deserves another chance because you got a young core of Cunningham, you got Ivy, you have Wiseman, you have Duran. That team could do a little work if you can keep building that team up. So I would call either Mark Jackson, Steven Silas, or Nate McMillan. I think all three of those guys can definitely do the job. And as for Casey, yeah, he was good in Toronto, but when he went to Detroit, he was building something, and then they took it away from him. But you know what? I don't know how much longer he would have been coaching, in my opinion. I think moving him to the front office is a really good job because then he can help tutor the next
Right.
coach, not
Mm-hmm.
be the next coach. He'd be like, for example, what Coach K probably said to John Shire when he took over and said, "Hey, I'm a phone call away if anything, I mean anything you need to help run the team, coach the team." So I think Dwayne Casey will definitely help get the new coach and go to practice and be in the shadows, but he is a call away, should be telling this new coach, I'm a one call away if you need me.
Well, Will, you are so spot on with that situation in a lot of different ways, and I'll tell you why. I wouldn't expect Steven Silas or Nate McMillan to get calls for that. The other two you mentioned are there, and I think the reason why you're so spot on. I know you have to get to another subject. Probably didn't expect to go as long, but you have a great topic here, so we'll just try to write it just for a quick second, anyways. But you're right. Casey was really on the back end of his coaching career, anyways. But I don't see McMillan. I don't see Steven Silas getting right away. I think Kenny Atkinson's another prominent name out there as well. So, but you're on target, Will, with practically everything that you're going at. So,
And now this is a good time to transition to our next topic, and that is our Basketbros Legend,
This was
the
for you.
one,
This was
the
for you.
only Cleveland. This is for you.
This is for you,
And I
buddy.
think, and I think this is the first Basketbro Legend we're covering that's still actively playing. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, the one and only LeBron James. The man needs no introduction, but as customary, here you go. He was drafted first overall in 2003, selected by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Currently playing for the Los Angeles Lakers. He just finished year 20. He's a four-time NBA champion, four-time Finals MVP, four-time NFL MVP. Excuse me, NBA Most Valuable Player. He probably could have won NFL MVP too, seeing as he's 6'9", 250. 19-time All-Star, three-time All-Star Game MVP, 13-time All-NBA First Team, three-time All-NBA Second Team, two-time All-NBA Third Team, five-time NBA All-Defensive First Team, NBA All-Defensive Second Team, Rookie of the Year, All-Rookie First Team, scoring champion in 08, also an assist leader in 2020. He's on the 75th anniversary team. He also is the current and reigning and defending all-time NBA scoring leader. And you know what? I mean, surefire Hall of Famer. You guys know what you're dealing with here, And sometimes here's my problem. Here's my problem with some people whenever they do the Jordan versus LeBron debate is whenever some people defend Jordan, they take in the totality of his career. But whenever they go against LeBron, they only look at his championships. Whenever they bring up LeBron, 6-4. 6-4. No, talk about everything that I just mentioned. I just wish that people, whenever they do, and neither one of them in theory would be wrong. It's just whenever rule number one of debating is you're supposed to acknowledge the other side, correct? Everyone on this panel is taking some type of speech class, some type of debate class or something, So you're supposed to acknowledge the other side. You're supposed to acknowledge all of those All-Stars, all of those All-NBA first teams. You're supposed to acknowledge everything. Don't just look at the man's rings. Because at the end of the day, someone's going to tell you that's a team accomplishment. There's a team accomplishment. What do you do outside of that? But I want to swing it over to start off with Will. Will, your thoughts on LeBron James?
Yeah, I think that LeBron Jordan comparisons couldn't be more wrong. when you look at the guy who LeBron plays like, it's not Michael Jordan. Guys, we all know who he plays like. Magic Johnson. This guy is plays like a Magic Johnson is probably one of just him or maybe like two others who can play 1 through 5 on the floor. Jesus, he played. Pardon me, but he played center in the NBA Finals in replacement for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Come on, man. He could play 1 through 5. Jordan, the closest thing to him was Kobe. So that's not a fair comparison, Jordan versus LeBron. But LeBron's legacy, it's really interesting because when he went to his first championship, he definitely got overmatched because he was literally the train of Cleveland. There was no one else. And he was running into Ginobili, Parker, Duncan, and Bowen. That really good Spurs team. Most of them are going to be Hall of Famers. And then he goes to Miami, promises multiple championships, only wins 2. Goes back to Cleveland, wins 1. Goes to LA, wins 1. So, would I say he's in my Mount Rushmore NBA players? No. But would I say he's a top 10 player of all time? Yeah, he is. But he's not my top 5. But yeah, LeBron is. It's crazy seeing LeBron. We've never really seen anybody like him. This big of a dude running down the lane, full head of steam, 6'9", 200 something pounds. And this guy, yes, I don't like when he calls for fouls and he complains and stuff. But this guy is a competitor. He fights. He gives all his work in. He spends a lot of money on his body to keep him in shape, to keep him healthy. And like we've said before, if he went back to the 80s and he played the Bad Boy Pistons, he would have absolutely gotten destroyed. But LeBron is a human specimen who's a freak of nature. And he will definitely be regarded as one of the greatest players of all time.
Right.
And an ultimate competitor at that. So if I had to summarize LeBron's legacy in one word, I know Jacob said describe LeBron's legacy. If I had to describe it, I would say interesting because it's full of ups, it's full of downs because, like I said, in that final against the Spurs when he first went in, it went plummeting down. Then he went to the Heat. He won 2 finals, but he lost 2 finals. So it was up and down, up and down. Goes back to Cleveland, up, wins the title. Goes to Lakers, wins the title, up. So it's like a rotation of up and downs with LeBron's career. So let's just say his legacy is an interesting one in that.
Great commentary by the one and only Will Vogel. And here's to maybe Michael B. Jordan playing LeBron in a biopic. Want to swing it over to Jacob. Your thoughts on LeBron James?
The thing about it is it depends on era. Okay, I'm going to say this right now. Like you had Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. Who cared more about their image? Wilt, make no mistake. And so they were everything like that. Well, the one that cared about their image got 2 rings. The one that didn't was 11. It's just like, I mean, it was right there. What do you get right now? Michael Jordan, I know he looked at his image, but he was a mean, nasty, no nonsense. I'm going to win and I don't care. LeBron cares about what you think. He is 6'8", about 6'8", actually. He's 6'8", about 260. And a 180-pound guy like J.J. Barea will like touch him with a pinky and he'll go down and roll around in a fetal position. He has the absolute, either he is the biggest faker, he's the biggest wimp with guys with any muscles I've ever seen in my life. He also has to be shown opening a book at all times. It's always on page 1. I mean, there's like 10 pictures of him with a book, and it's always on either the first chapter or page 1. You never see it in the middle of the book in his little still pictures. Same time, You know he has a dog in him at times because you think about that 28 points in the fourth quarter against Detroit. You think of that 44 point, the 44, 10, and 11 in the finals in those last 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
He has it. He just doesn't show it enough. It's like he's worried. It's like the biggest thing is also going down to the end. He plays GM. He wants his team, and he's had more losing than not. He did more losing than not. Everything whatsoever. It's like there hasn't been a star in history that has to have everything perfect for him to get it back. There, I mean, like for instance, that foot was going to be an injury, and all of a sudden it healed. Hallelujah, it's healed. Benny Hinn, call it Benny Hinn. It's like, it had all of that. Now it's coming back just because they're close to the playoffs. And this is the biggest deal about him. This is why he's never going to. This is why it's going to depend on Aaron. He's going to be a 50-50 shot with people. I think as far as talent, as far as what he can do, his size, the athleticism. I mean, 29 points a game for his age and the movement down the court. There is no better. But for someone like that, I'm sorry. He's the NBA version of Trump. I'm sorry, not sorry. He's the NBA version of Trump. He's a crybaby. He has to have it all his way, hand it to it stuff, and then there's and if you try to blame him, he puts it on elsewhere. It's just true. And to me, that takes his legacy because he's the all-time leading scorer and he's the 4th all-time leading assist. We know his skills.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, he's worried about his image. Someone like him should have an ungodly pain tolerance.
Hey, Jacob, I have a question. So are
Sure.
you saying LeBron should be sponsored by Burger King? Have it your way?
No, that's Jerry Lawler.
That was good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you've come a long way to come up with a line like that.
Yeah, but
Next time I bring you on a basketball show, you better remember that one.
To me, a guy like
that.
him, to me, a guy like LeBron with his body, with his size, should have an unreal. I mean, I grew up with a guy with an unreal pain tolerance. I grew up with a guy with an unreal pain tolerance. He should have an unreal pain tolerance where he rolls around in a fetal position and cries. And it's like, but again, that's image. I really believe this is a victimhood era where everything, too bad, everything like that, instead of overcoming and being a badass. It's not right to be the badass in this world now. And I think that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Today's NBA is soft.
And before I swing it over to Scott, they actually were saying earlier in today's ball game, LeBron actually finished with 36 points. He was 8 of 14 from 3. He had 6 rebounds, 6 assists. The previous record of points per game for a guy in year 20 or over was Kobe Bryant with 17. LeBron James is 10 points clear of him. So
he's 27. I said 29, but yes.
Yeah. But I think that's for a season. But Scott, your thoughts on LeBron James? I know you got something to say for this one.
Oh, I always do when it comes to. Hey, Will, I got to ask you a quick question, buddy. Do you have any tattoos?
No.
We should give you one, GMTA, because you killed me tonight on what you just said. We'll find a place with it, maybe in the back of your head, covering your hair up, a GMTA. That'll be your thing down the road to always remember me. That I think I taught you a little something. You destroyed me tonight. So here, let's start from the beginning. Thanks to Will. Number 1, being a bad boys guy. You're right. Well, he would have been destroyed there. I know it. I saw Lambeer make people look bad. I saw Rick Mahorn look bad, and Dennis Rodman would have killed him on the boards. I saw it firsthand. Okay, that's item number 1. Number 2, I don't really so much judge this championship 6 and 4 as much because, let's face it, he did get him to 10 finals appearances either way.
That's amazing too.
Yeah. So I don't discount that. But what I do discount is this guy, to me, is the worst public relations crew I've ever seen. The decision. Oh, God help me. That wasn't, I don't know if that's old stream media, new stream media, or insane media, because I think it would probably fall under insane media. the decision, right then everybody was rooting against the guy to begin with because 1, 2, 3, or whatever the heck, etc. So then you talk about the Miami Heat. Okay, when he tried to pull that, I want these guys on Pat Riley couldn't get him out of the door fast enough. Said, do it, but you're not doing it here. Now, Miami Heat have a winning culture, and you got your first championship with us, not 1, but 2. And, of course, he played against some pretty good teams. Dallas, at that time, Rick Carlisle, I never hated seeing him leave Detroit, but Larry Brown ended up winning a title, so you can't second guess that at all. But Rick Carlisle, to me, was one of the best coaches and defensive coaches out there, and he out-coached. What was it, Eric Spoelstra at the time, or was it Riley? I don't remember.
Yeah, no, it's Spoelstra.
It was Spoelstra.
I thought it was, yeah. So he out-coached them. And, of course, if you're going to lose to Spurs, don't feel bad about losing Greg Popovich, another Hall of Famer, too.
Right.
So those aren't bad either. But the reality is this. When you summarize the whole thing, I personally think myself that Kareem is the all-time scoring champion because you never had the three-point shot, number one, okay? And number two, everybody talks about load management. You know what? I'll bet, okay, that a lot of these old players that I'm talking about never missed that many games, and LeBron has done it, although he accomplished the feat in less games, so then people can counter with me with that. So the reality is, well, and this is where you struck Cole on another one. I don't think it's on a Mount Rushmore of any list at all. Top 10, I'll go there. I wouldn't be caught dead putting LeBron James on a top 10 on a Mount Rushmore. Would I give him top 10? Yeah, why not? I mean, he's a complete player. But I'll go back to your original point, Will. He would have been crushed during the Basketbros old-time era by a lot of these guys when you had the hand checking. Can you imagine how many times he would have been sitting on his pants over in the paint? Okay. The paint wouldn't dry fast enough on top of his trousers, man, or shorts or whatever. So, I have nothing against LeBron. I mean, hey, listen, he's a Capricorn. He can't be all that bad. I think it's December 30th, 31st. So, I'm a Capricorn too.
Hey, at least you got that in common.
Yeah, no,
he wouldn't be playing 20 years. He'd have like a very short career. He'd probably have like a
there's no doubt about it. He really would. How many has he played? 20? I say if he played during that physical era, like give him 15,
half,
15 years.
Less than half.
Well, 15 years, maybe he could probably handle it.
Yeah, he'd still go over 10. He'll still go over 10. 20, I don't know. And that's, mind you, if you still take him out of high school. If he's still, joining at 18. But
here's the thing too. Here's the thing too. He'd never be any more than 220, 230 in that era also, because his build, for what his build is right now, that is all that training, all the diet, which did not happen then. His natural bone structure would be about 6'8", 230. He's 260 because of all the working out, all the muscle tone, all the everything, which they did not have back then.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, though, when you talk about working out with the weights, he would have needed that in order to compete against the beast of the past.
Oh, big time.
Again, like you guys have said all show long, this guy would have gotten destroyed, period, back then. Now, the NBA is a patty cake baker's man league is what it is. And if you go out there and touch somebody in the finger, there's a foul. If you're lucky, maybe you hit him on 2 fingers, you got a flagrant foul.
Maybe if you touch him on 3, you get objected.
See, the thing about the NBA, I always wonder if the NBA is going to need another Bird Magic savior somewhere in there. Right now, WNBA is going to get it with that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese.
Yep.
But does the NBA have one to follow that up? Because right now, what we saw today, they're in a lot of trouble. NBA is in a lot of trouble as far as their thing and just their attitudes. The attitudes on the thing, the way it's called, the game is boring. I mean, the whole NCAA tournament was nothing but ball movement.
I used to go to Hornets games all the time. Like, I used to be partial seasons. Used to go like 10 games a year. And then I'm like, my friend's like, did you go to any Hornets games this year? I'm like, no. I don't like today's NBA as much as I used to. I'll just sit at home and watch them.
Oh, Jacob, you are so right on this one, too. I don't know if the NBA does have a Bird type of magic scenario to bail it out. And a lot of that's attributed to the load management, okay, because now they're getting paid a lot of money to play a minimum of 65 games just to be around an award. Back then, you played 75, 80 all day long if you were lucky. And I don't think that because of the attitudes that there is another Bird. And man, and I don't watch the NBA. I got better things to do. If I wanted to, I could
There
cover
is no
games here
bird
and there.
magic right now. There
Yeah.
isn't.
No, but here's the thing too. Here's a huge thing also, Scott.
What's that?
Hey, we do have to move on. So real quick.
I'll say this 2 seconds. The one big thing that we have to say with this is the fact that, yeah, you're right. I'm looking at the time. I'm sorry. You look at the time. Go ahead.
No. Just finish up. Go ahead. You already started.
No. But one of the you're talking about the players. If we have another Bird Magic, right?
Right.
The thing about the Bird Magic was when they tried making that racial back then, both of them told the media to shut up, and the media said, "Thank you, we will sit down now." Media wouldn't sit down now. Media wants that as a story. They want the victims. They want everything. Bird and Magic weren't interested in being victims. Now this is an era of victimhood.
Right.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. And you know what? Excellent commentary across the board regarding not only LeBron James, but also just comparing and contrasting eras. And who knows? It's anybody's guess if sometime between now and 5 or 10 years from now, if we'll ever get that Bird versus Magic. But speaking of controversy, and I was really curious to hear you guys' commentary on this one.
Okay.
And that's our first Basketbros moment in time, the 2002 Western Conference Finals Game 6, the Tim Donaghy game. So for those of you all who are not familiar, this was, of course, Game 6 of the 2002 Western Conference Finals between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Sacramento Kings. It was one of the most competitive series in NBA history. 6 of the 7 games between the Kings and Lakers were decided by 7 or fewer points. In Game 6 alone, the Lakers attempted 15 more free throws than the Kings in that game. There were questionable calls like a foul on Mike Bibby after being elbowed in the face by Kobe Bryant. Even Sacramento coach Rick Alderman and Chris Webber and Vlad Divac, they criticized the officiating. Got so bad, former presidential candidate Ralph Nader called for an investigation. Let's see, Tim Donaghy actually ended up being investigated for not just this game, but many other games in which he was betting on. He ended up serving time in prison. But I wanted to swing it over to Will first. Your thoughts on this particular game and Tim Donaghy in general?
Yeah, I think there's a certain thing that came out on Donaghy a few years ago, like a little movie on Netflix where he talks about his inside, like how he was wrong and stuff. But yes, this game is infamous for being controversial like crazy. As we know, the Kings were up 3-2 in this series. The Kings are up 5 at half. The Lakers attempted 27 free throws in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
27. That is just stupid, insane. The Lakers later the officiating crew were accused of fixing the game, which they were, as we know. And then Donaghy was also sent for jail for betting on games and other stuff like this and other games. But yes, like, it was definitely controversial. This would have sent the Kings to the finals, and the Lakers were coming off a championship. And I felt like that the officials were like, oh, they're the defending champs. We have to give them their praise, their glory. Let's see another Bulls dynasty where they could go for a three-peat. No, literally, it was terrible. Horrible officiating. Letting a team have that many free throws, get away with elbows and other stuff, and then later being caught. Come on, man. Like, that is just dirty. And
Dirty
you know
pool.
what? It was a dark time for the NBA. That NBA semifinals, who knows what would have happened in the if it was a game 7, there could have been riots, for God's sakes. But literally, it's sad because this prevented the Kings from winning possibly their first championship in franchise history. But yeah, it's a horrible thing, and Donaghy, will probably go down as probably the biggest disgrace. But like, there's a bunch of people, teams, things in NBA history that will go down as disgraceful in NBA history. I think Tim Donaghy leads that list.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? They would have been favored to beat the Nets to win their first title, you know. But I mean, it's the very reason, like he's the very reason. I mean, referees have been criticized before him, but this isn't, like a oh well maybe I'm crazy or something. And it's like, oh wow, it's like it's really happening, like you see it. Like I remember in college, I read it was a good 4 or 5 page article on ESPN about step by step, like how he got started, who he was involved with, all the games, him saying, oh, I could sway a game by about 5 or 7 points if I tack on 2 fouls. Like it was crazy. I want to swing it over to Jacob. And Tim Donaghy actually said that he was actually acting on behalf of the league because the league wanted to see a game 7. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you believe him?
10, 20. 20 plus 20 equals 30. Same. Oh, yeah. No question. And guess what? He's a scapegoat. And you want to know what's going to happen? It'll happen in 2023. It happened on that time. It'll happen in football. It'll happen today. Let me tell you exactly why. It's called Connecticut versus San Diego State. The absolute lowest rated game of all time in the college basketball. Everyone that says they want the underdog to make it, San Diego State was the underdog, they didn't watch. Guess what? This will keep happening, and it will happen till the end of time. I'm talking this part now. Forgetting what I say about Justin Fields fans, you know what I've said about Fields. He's an absolute unmitigated star. And if a game gets close, in a playoff, Justin Fields will get he will get the, unless it's against, say, Pat Mahomes. But I'm talking about against a let's see, a new number 7 or something like that. If it's a real close game in the playoffs, they will get that pass interference. It's always, and guess what? The reason I said this, betting is now legal. It's all over the place, and it's a multi-billion-dollar organization, and it's going to get bigger. And Donaghy was just the scapegoat. He was in a scapegoat in an era that didn't have the gambling like it is now. But it's just going to get worse. It's like what you have to build now in a league, in this league, all the leagues, forget the NBA, all of them. What you have to build now is you have to build a team that is so good. I mean, you can't build 9-8 anymore. You can't build 9-8. You can't do it because I'll tell you this: Brock Purdy proved that wrong. There will be no more. There will be no more in that. They're going to be building that toward being a star. You have to build something so star-driven that the referees can't screw you.
Yeah,
that's the way it is. You literally can't. You can be 9-8, but you'll get nowhere. There's not going to be a Giants 2010 or whatever anymore, where you had to wait 4 more games, 5 in a row to go make the playoffs and make that run. There won't be that anymore because the minute that's a close game and then there's all that kind of stuff, there will be penalties. There will be all that kind of stuff. There'll be misery because the league wants it. The league wants the stars, and especially with the college basketball thing with the lowest rated of all time, they're not going to put up with that.
Yeah. And you know what? It's crazy you mentioned that because we all talked about that defensive holding call in the Super Bowl, right? Now, in that instance, 2 things can be true. True, the Eagles allowed 3 touchdowns in the second half. Yes, they did. But also, wrong time to call that hold, So it really gets you wondering. But I want to swing it over to Scott and get his thoughts on this. Same question. He said that he was acting on behalf of the league, which they wanted to see a game 7. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you believe him?
Well, I'd go 33, to be honest with you.
Thank you, Larry.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Well, that's my lucky number. Don't kid yourself. That's the first Super Bowl I ever covered. And there's a real big story behind 33. So. But no, Larry's it too. But no, here's the deal. Remember when the Detroit Lions got hosed against the Dallas Cowboys with that pass interference that shouldn't have been a pass interference, and Dallas ended up going on? The Lions and the Sacramento Kings are 2 of the most hard luck franchises on the planet. If anything could go wrong at the worst time, it would be them. Now, there's a reason why Tim Donaghy's a scumbag, because he's a scumbag. Okay,
Yeah.
and he got run out of the league. Now, so let's not kid ourselves. Okay, the Lakers are going to get every favorable call on the planet because a lot of people feel the Lakers, like the Celtics, are the NBA. I don't care about the recent teams that are having nothing to do with it. Everybody wants the Lakers to be in the playoffs, and they always say to me, the league is better. Just like that, you know what? National TV and hockey. They all want the Red Wings on national TV because they're an original 16 that's won a lot of championships, not the Florida Panthers that win every couple of years and then they're off the map. So what I'm trying to say, and it's not a matter of taking shots at one organization or another, because I've been to Sacramento and I've covered a couple games there, 2 or 3, in their old arena that held 10,333. That's another, or 10,666, I don't remember, over 10,000 plus. And then their newer arena, now they're going to be building another one. Those fans are some of the best fans and most boisterous I've ever seen. They're great fans in Sacramento. It doesn't hurt that they're the only game in town either, but that's got nothing to do with it. So, you know, let's face the reality. They had a good run there. I'm glad that Mike Brown has got them back in the playoffs after a 16-year hiatus, and they finally got it right. Let's just hope that they keep them there for a while. But let's face the reality. Well, whatever Tim Donaghy did, you know, betting, it would be more of a issue betting now than it was then. But it's more about keeping the Lakers in the playoffs because forget about only betting. What about television ratings, right? Mm-hmm. Would you rather see the Lakers in the finals over the Sacramento Kings? Yeah, you should. Just like you didn't want to see San Diego State and Connecticut because you knew the ratings would bottom out. So there's a lot of things that you factor in to a lot of what you're really doing, you know, ratings, advertising dollars. And there's no question that the Kings got holes. You said it right. 27 free throws in the fourth quarter. Did I hear that? Fourth quarter,
yes.
Mm-hmm. My goodness. I mean, if that isn't a hose job, I don't know what the heck a hose job is.
Yeah.
But I look at to the Lakers.
I look at it this way. I look at these this way. With teams like this, it's like if they want to overcome the Tim Donaghy kind games, which there will be more of, like I said, you know what you have to do? You just have to be that much better. Then you have to earn your star level.
You do.
Because let me bring this up. You remember that game, the Chicago and Pittsburgh, where that one backup linebacker clips it gets 15, clips the ref gets 15. He said, "Oops, sorry, he still got 15." You think J.J. Watt gets that call? No. It's a star league, and it's like but this is the one thing that people never say. They get mad and they get jealous because it's a star league. You have it does it stink? Yes, it does. There's a double standard all over the place, politics, sports, everything. But you just have to play that much better. You have to play 2 and 3 times that much better to earn your star league, and then they leave you alone after. It's just the way it always is, especially now.
Yeah, no question.
And you know what?
You
mentioned I'm sorry, go ahead, Scott.
If you think you're getting calls early in your career, then you got severe brain damage. You got rocks in your head instead of brains, because you have to earn your way in this league here. And one of the guys I remember watching a lot was Joe Dumars. He rarely ever complained about a call, but when he went to the officials and said something was wrong, they listened to him because he doesn't complain. Joe, I mean, I got to know Joe again during that time, and then I also got to know when he was general manager. And let me tell you, you know, when you have a reputation like he had, they didn't talk. And when he did say, okay, and if you need a sponsor, E.F. Hutton, when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. Well, when Joe Dumars talks, the officials listen because he never complained much. Everything in any sport is about reputation.
Yep. Yes, it is. Absolutely. And it's crazy you mentioned ratings when a certain star player is in, because the same happened with your favorite, Jacob, Trae Young, in the very incident that you mentioned, and getting them into the NCAA tournament when they should not have been there. But that year, Young won the Naismith. But even I said it. I was like, they don't belong to be in the tournament. And sure enough, they got bounced in the first round by, I think, Rhode Island. But
the thing to remember on this is like this is what costs a lot of people their careers. They get mad and they cry, and then they don't get anything about it. Then they just kind of become victim. I've said the word victim again. They become that, and then their careers are over. They don't get that much better to be able to earn that. Michael Jordan, let me just say this. I watched a lot of his early games, like especially during COVID. He got a ton of travels. They called him a ton, even at his star level. It wasn't even until like 89 when they stopped calling it. You have to earn every ounce of that.
Right.
Yeah.
You do, no matter who you are.
Yep, just to get those calls to go your way. But I wanted to ask one more question for the panel regarding this, and we'll go around real quick and get everyone's quick thoughts on it. It has been widely said that when the Supersonics were taken from Seattle and moved to Oklahoma City, that was a hit on David Stern's legacy. Seeing as this happened under his watch, do you feel this was a hit to David Stern's legacy? Will, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it goes 1, this game, 2, the Supersonics moving. Yes, for sure.
Okay, and then Jacob, and you think it's a hit to his legacy, and how big?
I think the biggest hit to his legacy is making Adam Silver his replacement. That's the biggest hit to his replacement because that was his lawyer. And it's like, I mean, Adam Silver's about the worst I've ever seen outside of maybe Bettman. He's about the. I mean, just overall, we're gonna be talking about this, like maybe the next week, whatever. I got a little topic. Where can the NBA survive going without China? We're gonna be talking about that, and it's like China is because of him. The whole Chinese problem is because of him. That he is the worst one. It's like that's the big hit to his legacy is he had his replacement be Adam Silver.
Gotcha. And then last but not least, Scott, do you feel like this right here is a hit to his legacy? And if so, how much?
You know what, Jacob? I think you're 100% right, but I don't think it's the biggest hit to his legacy. I think the Seattle thing, to me, was not David Stern's fault. And I'll tell you why. For years, they've been bickering about trying to get an arena, and they couldn't do it for so many years. I mean, listen, I've actually covered a Sonics game, a couple of them, when I was in Seattle at the Key Arena back then, and obviously it needed work. It was old, but no, I mean, that's not his fault that Seattle could not get an arena built and they had 10, 15, 20 years to do it. What do you expect the new owner to do? Give you 1 or 2 years? Because you have a big TV market out in the Pacific Northwest. And I think that there's no doubt Seattle will get a team, and I hope sooner than later. But no, I don't blame that on Stern at all. And yeah, I probably will side more with you, Jacob, that bringing in a guy like Adam Silver was bad. I mean, there's no question about it. This guy, to me, plays a game with patty cake, baker's man. I use it a lot, but here's the thing. Where they really screwed up on his last collective bargaining is they should have set the standards to 70 games at least for load management, not 65. And I would have even gone 75. And hear me out, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I understand injuries happen, but load management, to me, along with the other things that are wrong with the league, okay, is sinking the league anyway. But Seattle, no. And Jacob nailed it. Adam Silver, right.
Yeah. Now, what about this right here? Do you feel like it's a hit to his legacy?
What, the Seattle situation?
No, the Tim Donaghy situation, the whole thing.
Kind of. I mean, Donaghy's a snake. I mean, what are you going to do? It'd be like asking people like Bud Selig, we had problems with the steroids people, right? All these other guys, right? But then Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa saved the league when nobody showed up after that miserable 94 strike. Who's at fault when everybody was benefiting by it? So I would say, no, not really Donaghy as much. I can't totally go there.
Okay. No, that's fair. Let's see. We got about maybe 3 minutes, but just real quick.
No. What about Will?
Yeah. I already went to Will.
Said it.
He went first.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, he went first. Real quick before we go off the air, our second basketball moment in time. March 12th, 1997, the crossover heard around the world when rookie Allen Iverson crossed over Michael Jordan and hit a mid-range shot. This was the first of many, many highlights for the man. But for your first highlight to come against, someone who is deemed the greatest, it's awesome. And actually was a springboard to him becoming a great himself. So just real quick, your thoughts about this play.
Yes, Allen Iverson is probably Michael Jordan and Allen Iverson are two of my greatest and favorite basketball players of all time. And to do this against a legend in Michael Jordan is just insane. Phil Jackson actually called out Allen Iverson saying, "This is some young boy blank. You know what I mean?" And Iverson responded, "You ain't seen nothing like this before." And guess what? He shut up Phil Jackson for real. And it's crazy because Allen Iverson became a great player in his own right. He has some of the best handles of all time, an excellent scorer as well. But also, Jordan went on that year to win a fifth title, and Allen Iverson went on to win Rookie of the Year. So it was a good year for. But it was bad for MJ, but it actually turned out well because he won a championship. It got better for AI because then he went on to win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, absolutely. Jacob, real quick, your thoughts on this play.
Allen Iverson, let's put it to you this way. It's the only player, the only head-to-head that Michael Jordan lost points-wise in his career was Allen Iverson, 27-24 Iverson. But the biggest thing to realize about Iverson is he never had anybody in Philly to help him. He got to that final anyway. Just imagine if he had help, and just imagine if he could have stayed clean. You got to remember, he's still an alcoholic. You got to remember he still has gambling issues, which is I always bring up about when he does get that money when he's 55, will he keep it? I mean, that's the whole thing about it. It's like if he didn't have those, to me, if he did not have those issues, if he was LeBron James as far as discipline, oh my God.
Yeah,
Just
true.
as far as discipline, just imagine if he would have the same discipline that LeBron has as far as, because here's the thing, no matter what we say about LeBron, perfect family. Perfect father. He is. There's no question about it. He has not cheated on his wife. He has not done any of that kind of stuff. He has brought schools and community centers and all that kind of stuff. If Allen Iverson would have stayed the same discipline as LeBron James, oh dear Lord. Yeah. You're looking at somebody that could, he was really, really good. You're looking at somebody that could have been better.
Yes.
Interesting. And last but not least, Scott, your thoughts on this moment?
Well, this moment and a lot of other ones. I loved Allen Iverson as a player. I really do. I had an opportunity to interview him and Jerry Stackhouse when they were with the Philadelphia 76ers, and two of the most level-headed guys. I also think about Stackhouse might be a head coaching possibility, but I loved Allen Iverson. And he's one of the best hard-nosed players from top to bottom I've ever seen. And like Jacob said, minus the distractions. Anybody that's got the guts to tell Larry Brown, practice? I don't need practice. And he didn't because
it's practice. It's practice. I don't need practice. We're talking practice.
Right. But the reality is I love Allen Iverson not only as a person, but as a hard-nosed player. And it goes back to what Jacob said. If he had more help, he would have perhaps we put him in.
Well, and more help and more discipline. It's like because remember he was an alcoholic and he had a gambling issue. If he would have had LeBron's discipline, oh my dear God.
Yeah, but I loved him. I loved his overall game, and load management would never exist with Allen Iverson.
Not at all.
No.
The kid got the heart of a lion. So
absolutely, pound for pound. Pound for pound, the best point guard that ever lived. But that's our show. Thanks to everybody who tuned in to this episode of Basketbros. Let's see, around the horn, Jacob, real quick. Where can everybody find you?
Nowhere. I'm completely bored. Have no idea. No. No. Sunday nights here. Monday nights, Pundit Views. We're working on a new format for at least a week tomorrow. And I want to, when it's finalized, I will let you all know. Jay knows one of my guests. Jay knows who I'm talking about, but I won't bring it up until it's absolutely finalized. But it's a pretty big one. And I'll just give a hint. It's pretty current. So this one's nice. I'll give it a thing in person. But
Jay, you have to tell me.
No, we can't. No, because it's not guaranteed yet. Not guaranteed yet.
It's not 100% yet.
Okay, nothing Tuesdays, Wednesdays, 3 shows. Pundit, the Sports Exchange with Scott. Scott's on the Pundit also, and then Confidential.
Excellent. Will, can everybody find you?
Sunday nights here. Sometimes during the week, I am fill in for Scott. I help Scott on his shows on the South Florida Tribune. If not, I'm right there in the comment section. Scott knows it. Everyone knows it. You'll see me there. But this week, I will not be on any shows. I am out of town. I will be missing Basketbros and other shows. But and then Thursdays, I'm on a show called The Sip Off, hosted by Megan Price. Fridays, occasionally, I'm on the Gauntlet. But yes, that's where you can find me.
All right. And last but not least, Scott.
All right. Well, I prefer if everybody can, please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. You'll find some shows on there. I've had some good interviews recently with former New York Yankee Barry Foote, former ESPN announcer Dave Barnett, former LA announcer Ted Dawson, and the other guy, Mike Jarvis of FAU. So, we have a lot there. And, of course, Wednesday nights, Pundits, and here on Sundays as well, Basketbros. So, I have a lot going on. I just try to give you the Cliff Notes version of it. So, please subscribe to South Florida Tribune YouTube channel, and hopefully we'll see you on our platform as well. Always enjoy being with you.
All right. Excellent show. And for Jacob, Will, Scott, I am Denzel, and we will see you next Sunday. Later.
Later.